Welcome to the Neurogenic Integration Podcast, where we explore the incredible potential of neurogenic tremoring beyond the basics. I'm Alex Green.
And I am Sylvia Song-Shields. Together, we'll be diving into how this natural, innate process can be seen and applied across different professions, healing modalities, and in scientific research.
Whether you're a practitioner, a coach, a therapist, a body worker, or a researcher, this podcast is for you.
Join us as we uncover the science, share experiences, and explore how neurogenic integration is revolutionizing the way we approach stress, trauma, and well-being.
So take a breath, get comfortable, and let's dive in. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Neurogenic Integration Podcast. I'm Alex Green, and I'm excited to sit down and have a conversation with three women today in the TRE field, Vera Live, Špela Potočnik, and Katja Jarc. And it's a project that I've been following for quite some time, and I'll just share a little bit of the details about what we'll be talking about in today's conversation. And then we'll jump right into the subject matter. But basically, Vera, Špela, and Katja have been working on bringing TRE to youth populations in school settings and in some cases in after-school sports curriculums. And the project began with Vera co-authoring a book with input from Dr. Berceli, and we'll talk quite a bit about the book itself here today. And then in addition, Špela, Katja, and Vera have worked on piloting a curriculum for students in Slovenia, and with excellent results for that initial pilot project, and now there's continued energy towards extending this curriculum, and it's a great name. I love the name. The Reflexive Mobility Academy is taking this TRE work to youth, and also additionally, there's the name Dynamic Superpower, which is a title used especially with some of the younger students, and so we'll talk a little bit about this, how they are working to make TRE understandable and relatable to children. So I've been lucky to be involved a bit as an advisor for the project, and I've been excited to see how it's been developing. And I thought it would be very cool just to have a conversation about how this got underway, the things that they're learning working with youth, and what direction this project is heading. So I'm just going to start with some introductions for each of the my three guests, and then, of course, we'll jump into some discussion and conversation with everybody. So starting with Vera, Vera Live co-founded Dynamic Superpower with Dr. Berceli, as I mentioned, to bring the body's natural shaking reflex to children and teens as a proactive resilience tool, not as a clinical intervention. As a PE teacher, a yoga trainer, and a mother of three with a background in finance and business, Vera came to TRE work herself after a near-death experience that showed her firsthand what a well-trained nervous system can do. Hopefully we'll hear a little bit about that maybe. I didn't even know that. She is, of course, a certified TRE provider and has been involved with global training programs. And currently her mission is equipping adults who work with youth to be knowledgeable and skillful at passing on nervous system training and TRE training to youth. So that's Vera. Vera, welcome to the show.
And thank you for having me.
Very good. And we also have Špela Potočnik, is a Slovenian youth counselor and social pedagogue, also a certified TRE provider, and one of the two pilot developers behind the Slovenia study that I mentioned from last year. She works as a school counselor and collaborates with the Integrum Institute, and also hosts her own podcast on the TRE method. I'll have to watch that probably with some translation. She's also a mother of four and a vocal advocate for burnout prevention as part of how schools care for both staff and students. So welcome, Špela, to the show. And last but not least, we have Katja Jarc, who is a primary school teacher, marriage and family therapist, Gestalt counselor and trainer, and a specialist in arts therapies. She's also a certified TRE provider and the second pilot developer for the Slovenia pilot project. She runs her own private practice, Manus Katja Jarc, where for over 13 years, she has integrated body-oriented and dance movement approaches into her work with individuals, families, couples, and adolescents. In November of 2024, she co-led the TRE with Kids training in Amsterdam along with Vera, and she brings clinical and somatic depth to this trio. She lives with her husband and their two sons, aged 11 and 14, and TRE is very much a part of their family life. Her family has also participated in documenting their practice together with Dr. Berceli, with several films that are available on YouTube. So, Katja, welcome to the conversation. Appreciate all three of you being here today.
Thank you.
So just to sort of kick off a conversation, Vera, I wonder if we could start with you. What problem were you trying to address when you and Dr. Berceli first came up with the idea to develop the book? And please also give us the title and some of the background of how this project got started.
The problem that we realized is that the nervous system regulation was kept behind the clinical wall, and we wanted to move from trauma therapy intervention into mindfulness resilience training, which can be done regularly and something that kids and youth are more open to. And our biggest passion through various conversations with Dr. Berceli was to give youth agency over their own nervous system and to reveal that the body is really your best friend and that it's equipped with this amazing mechanism to downregulate the nervous system. And what really struck me was that once you slow down the psychological noise, then we can all see our own consciousness and we can also access this wisdom of the body. One of the biggest drivers was that in these days, there's so much social pressure, and there's so much pressure from the parents for the kids, and also social media is constantly trying to tell kids that there's something wrong with them and turning them into consumers. So what we wanted to do is to share how to downregulate the nervous system without or before the world tells the kids that they're broken. So that was the work. And at first, we used the traditional methods of explaining how this is tension and trauma release in exercises and how to perform them. And of course, we've covered aspects of safety and self-regulation that were so important. But kids needed a slightly different approach, which is more straightforward and telling them that this is something already built in their body. So little by little, the term evolved, which was Dynamic Superpower. And we had names like music of the body. We had different ways. Inner power is what David Berceli really liked as a name. Inner strength. It's actually on the logo, it says Dynamic Superpower, Inner Strength for Kids and Teens.
Lovely. Yeah, I love the framing as capacity building, resilience building, proactive nervous system training, and that's something we'll touch upon maybe as we go into the book about a little bit more. The analogy of strengthening our nervous system, analogous to strengthening our muscles and things like that. But yeah, so I love that reframe of that for youth and kids. So much of this is about awareness and knowing, having that agency to know about and actually to develop and strengthen and attend to their own autonomic nervous system. What a cool direction. Špela, I'm curious for you working in schools and also as a TRE provider, what did you feel was sort of the missing piece in terms of bringing nervous system awareness to youth? I wonder if you could share how you got involved with this idea.
I work in school for 20 years now, almost. And I'm seeing a lot of test anxiety, panic attacks, especially during COVID times. Many students simply don't know or didn't know how to manage stress. And not just students, teachers are struggling as well. Well, in the school system, there is a strong emphasis on the mind, but often not enough attention is given to the body, only maybe in sports activity. And I think when we want to support young people, we need more holistic approach. And this, our approach, I think it is holistic. And I see this also in my counseling work. Some students, need to be listened to. They need space to express themselves through talking, writing, maybe art or other creative ways. But there are also students who first need a body-based approach. They need to learn how to release tension, reconnect with their body, and unlock this inner strength that we now call the Dynamic Superpower. So yeah, so I'm working with this neurogenic tremor in school since for 10 years now, and now for 3 years we are developing this new modality, which is based on theory. Yeah.
Very cool. What lovely. And Katja, I'm curious for you in your therapy practice, because you've said you've worked with adults, families, children, kind of across the whole lifespan. How did you become interested in bringing TRE to youth specifically?
Yes, in my therapy practice, I always see that even young people or adults, they talk to me a lot. They tell me a lot of things, how they feel, but their bodies are still stuck in stress, anxiety. And so at the beginning, I first started like TRE with my sons here at home, and it was like in a playful and very light manner, and it worked very good. And they're still doing it when they feel stressed or when it's difficult to fall asleep. And then I started to bring this theory also in my therapy practices for adults or for youth, or also some other body-based tools. And I saw that this was so strong and powerful that this experience that they could feel their body much more was so intense, and all the therapy started growing. They could tell me more, they feel much more their body, and their system respond very quickly, they feel safe. And I see that without using body and movement or these tools, it's like something is missing in therapy. So I am so glad that all this is possible, that the bodies of all these people that come, they can feel themselves, they can express more, they can open their eyes and don't feel so much stress inside of their bodies.
Have you found, Katja, that have you not in school settings, but in the private therapy room, have you had to adjust TRE when you're working with younger people to either explain it or to what adjustments do you have to make working with young people in a therapy setting?
Yeah, it really depends. If, for example, a family comes and they just want to have a theory session with their son or so with their child, then I explain that it's very important that it's also some of the family member also there to know how is this going on. So, and then I made many different exercises that feel more comfortable, that feel more safe. So that was playful. We also named the exercises. That was fun. I bring some toys. I bring some cars. So if there were younger children that they could play, and that was really funny, and they really enjoyed it. And it was like a playful time that was really fun for them. And I see that through this, if you're open and you can, you are not stuck in the practice like it should be, then, and I think it's also that I worked with kids so many years, it's much simpler also for me to, as I worked in school and in kindergarten, that I can just imagine some things and I can give them and invent something directly in the moment, what they need. And I think in the first place is that I listen what they need and to make the space that is safe.
Cool. Very cool. Vera, I wonder if we could talk about the book specifically, and maybe you can even show a copy if you have it in front of you. Otherwise, we'll put up an image later. But yeah, tell us about the book. Who's it written for? I mean, it's, my first impression was it's so creative. There's a story in there, maybe even two now. At least one of the stories comes from involves your own children. So, but the book is not. There's a section of it that's sort of story based, but there's also explanations in there. So why don't you just kind of talk about the final form of the book, and that's been published for perhaps about 6 weeks now or something like that. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Thank you, Alex. Before I go into details, I wanted to say a huge thank you to Špela and Katja, because it would not be possible without your inspiration. TRE was taught at schools by Špela for the longest time, from all the research that I've done regularly. It's also been approved by the ministry as a burnout prevention for the teachers. And after school classes is where the kids were learning and were practicing regularly, which really supported me. And back almost 5 years ago now, where we started working with David Berceli on how to find a modality that can be transferable to kids easier. It was important to know that, Katja was practicing with her own kids. It's out there. It's on YouTube. It's in a light manner. So thank you so much. I would really think of you as co-authors and big supporters, because as we were evolving the stories, the input was so important. For example, something sounded too like a blame. Even every single conversation within a story was revised. So Špela said, oh no, she should not say, this thing, because it can be interpreted this way. So we kept tweaking things in the stories to convey a lot of meaning. The stories are not just for the kids. They can be read both in three ways. A person from 6 to 12-year-old can read the story on their own, or it can be read to him or her by an adult, or also they can do it together or role play it. What idea is to use a very strong framework of International Baccalaureate. It is a nonprofit global organization that has one of the world's best pedagogical approaches for knowledge transfer. And the way it goes is that the student is encouraged to use inquiry pathway. So that's why the book is not just a book, it's really a manual. And the user can use different entry points. A person can read a book or go into the science stations, which is what we discussed in the very beginning, is that we have knowledge of the nervous system in a very personal way. So because I am a substitute teacher and sometimes at science classes and PE classes, we have to cover information about the body to learn about homeostasis and different systems. The book is this one. This is it's the size that can be easily shared by a teacher in the classroom, for example, or by a parent. And it has a story in table of contents. It has a story. It has science pages or science corners, stations, and then the actual activation process, how to activate your own superpower. And too bad, I know Špela also has the books. Maybe you can cover about something, but the part that we as a group feel really strong about are the science stations. So we actually tell that the body has 3 brains, and we explain what the vagus nerve is, so that this is the whole idea, is that we explain what interoception is, and that is the ability of the vagus nerve to collect information from all the systems and send them to the brain. We tell here, and as you may know, kids love math. Some of them do, some of them don't, but a lot of them like proof. So when we say, oh, vagus nerve, 80% of how it's built is actually to collect information from inside your body and bring that to the brain. And then I ask them, how much time do you actually spend listening to your own body? And usually both adults and kids will live in the external environment. We don't really pay attention to what the body is trying to tell us. And in the story itself, it says that when you don't pay attention, you don't really make the wisest decisions. So I can definitely, because this is my baby, it's our baby, I can talk about this forever, but this is what I wanted to say. It has different entry points. It is meant to be addressing 5 different learning styles. It is based on International Baccalaureate pedagogical framework. And the biggest achievement is that it was given to a 10-year-old without any prior explanation. A 10-year-old read the story, especially the pages. And actually, this is where I have to mention Alex's input. A few of these pages were very carefully curated when it talks about safety. So this is a very important part of the book. It talks about self-regulation, safety, and Alex, you've helped really shape this well, explaining how to stop when you need to, how to ask for help. And also what's really important is that not all populations should be working through this framework. If you're working with more complex populations, it says right in here that please consider getting additional training or working with a certified provider directly. So we do provide quite a lot of emphasis on safety and self-regulation through the book here. And then going back to my example, the 10-year-old took the book, looked at all of these images, looked at the photos of the real kids doing this process and experienced the tremor. And eventually I had a session, I had a conversation with this person and was told that, yeah, I'm surprised I was not shared this before. So I think this is what we wanted to achieve. And the second bit, what we realized, you cannot just say youth. Usually there are different age groups based on developing biology and psychological development. That's why we separated the material into 6 to 12-year-olds and 12 up. This is still a draft, but the idea is that we would want to train our nervous system as a muscle. And it is very simple, has similar material, but talks to an older person with different needs.
Cool. Very cool. So exciting. I love just seeing some of the pictures. I still remember, I think I maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago when I first received a PDF, and I just sort of started smiling as I sort of was reading the, kind of how it was very playfully introduced to kids. But it's been wonderful to see it evolve into its final form. And I think evolve is the right word, because it has truly been a collaborative effort with all of your input and input from children and people who are, in a sense, testing the material. So it's been very cool to see how it developed into the form that it has. I'm curious for you, Katja and Špela, with the book itself, have you introduced it to anyone? Like, are you finding it useful yet in your mission to help increase awareness? I'm curious about how this is, what you're experiencing so far.
Okay. I can tell that during our pilot program, we used parts of this book before it was published in teacher training. So the teachers then went on to teach the girls in this school. We went to about their dynamic superpower. And well, these students share their own knowledge and their experience, also some content of the book with their parents. And I remember one mother in particular, she was a doctor, and her daughter was struggling with panic attacks. And when the daughter experienced neurogenic tremoring, something clicked for her. She had an aha moment. And this is also mentioned in one of the short videos we recorded in Instagram, where the girl explains that before this experience, she always associated the shaking with something negative. But then through that book and explanation, she realized that for her, this could actually be a path toward healing. So it's really, good experience, nice to hear. And that girl slowly allowed herself to let go and to feel her body again. And according to the teachers, her mother also was really impressed by the effects. So the adolescents teach their parents about how neurogenic tremor is good. And
Cool. Very cool. What about for you, Katja?
Yeah, maybe then I can look maybe on some other things. For example, in my family, when I show this book when we were still doing on it to my kids, they really like the stories about, and also they give me some ideas because one son is older than another, so also to tell which is good and how they like it, the story, and what is good for teenagers, and maybe like some kind of stories for more younger children. And also they really like these ideas with the exercises, because it was very simple. They said, it's really simple, Mom, how to use then this exercise. I just know how to do it, like just by myself. And this was very useful also to go further than with the book and everything. So I think this is, children are really, they just tell you what they mean. So I like this to tell you directly what's good or if something is not.
Very cool. Well, I wonder, Vera, go ahead.
I wanted to add something really important to what Katja just said. And this is what, in a way, united us three in the very, very beginning, is that we greatly respect the roots of the neurogenic tremor being rooted in David Berceli's life overseas and the way how it was originally brought to us through trauma work. However, when we are sharing this with younger generation, it is sometimes important not to overload the meaning that it is connected to trauma and it is connected to therapy. And what we realized, and this is kind of the negative part, is that we realized that setting the intention in the beginning of the neurogenic practice is so important. This is one of the reasons even the name needed to be changed, and David Berceli was completely open to that. He's like, call it whatever, as long as it works and as long as they hear the wisdom of their body and get all the benefits. The reason you walk into the room with kids and you tell them we're going to practice tension and trauma releasing exercises, they almost become frozen. It doesn't really help with safety or with self-regulation when you present it through the lens of there is something wrong with your body. However, at the same time, we can normalize the fact that the life is not always green and happy, la, la, la. We actually, in the story, tell that life will have its challenges. And if you train your nervous system, you'll be ready for challenges. And challenges are okay, and people learn from them, and having some support systems. I have to say special thanks to Linnea Gillen as my TRE trainer, because she shared the word fabric of connection. When people practice TRE together in their families or in groups, they start feeling that they're building this fabric of connection. And we needed to bring the stigma away from doing neurogenic tremor. This was probably quite difficult. The space has to be safe. And I'm sure Alex will talk more about different approaches of bringing this to different groups of adults. But one of the important things that Katja mentioned was about changing the lens, making this about this is your power, this is your neurogenic tremor, your body was equipped with this, and this is how we can use this safely and responsibly. And yes, you do store trauma in your body, you do store tension in your body. However, this is one of the tools to work with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely well said. I mean, I personally, I believe even that is just very, very true for kids, as you're naming it, and also for some adults. I mean, there's times when saying tension and trauma releasing that can become a heavy framing, even in adult settings. And so something I respect a lot about Dr. Berceli is having a very flexible mindset. In, as you said earlier, his primary emphasis is less about the name. It has to be this. He has a very flexible attitude, which is that if you're working with athletes, perhaps you want to position it this way. If you're working with children, perhaps it needs to be discussed a little bit differently. And personally, I find that that's that flexibility is what I believe will make all of us who are working to spread awareness around this in lots of different areas. I think it's that flexibility that's going to allow us to succeed. So yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing to emphasize. Yeah. Cool. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about the pilot project, because honestly, I followed a little bit and I watched a few YouTube videos and got excited, but I also feel like I don't know it all that well. I don't understand it all that well. So this is maybe Špela and Katja could begin here. Maybe a little bit about the origins. How did this begin? The idea, how did you implement it, and of course, what are the results? So just tell us a bit about this pilot project.
Okay. Well, before the pilot program began, we first carried out a 16-hour training program just for educators during the school year. And it was opened for to different profiles of school staff, for principals, for PE teachers, for biology teachers, for all the stuff. And its purpose was prevention from burnout prevention. And in this first program, we learned the basics of TRE method and to explore its effects on themselves first. So later, after the completion of this program, we invited all of the educators to take part in a pilot. Firstly, we got a permission from David Berceli if we can do this, because we are not theory trainers, we are just providers. And he said, yes, you have my permission. And you said, okay, let's start. And yeah, and our invitation was, for educators to take part in a pilot in which natural tremoring would be included in 15 minutes of, I don't know, physical education, maybe counseling, whatever. We put open mindset for them, but later just 2 PE teachers from the same school, which was great, responded to our invitation. And each of them had a regular group of female students, so we hope that there will be also boys in future. And they guided those students twice a week through this protocol that we taught them. It was just 5 to 7 minutes natural tremoring during each PE hour. So around 15 to 20 girls took part in this project. The number was different from week to week, to lesson, because the students were never forced to participate. Each time they were given a choice. So they could join the guided tremoring or take part in another physical activity. So these 2 PE teachers were also encouraged to continue their own theory process regularly. That this was, I think, that the basics that each time we gather together, we ask them how are they going with their own practice. So this was also very important in our pilot. So self-observation and keeping online journals, we know that from our certification. But also the students were encouraged that after each tremoring session they write how they feel, what the effects they have, and they could also ask us a question, me and Katja and me. Well, the whole process that I'm now describing lasted 4 months. 4 months, and this program included 3 Zoom meetings with the students. With the teachers, 3 Zoom meetings with the teachers, and each meeting we worked through some content section that Vera introduced, these science stations, and we also set aside time for tremoring. Each time we also tremored. And then Katja and I also visited teachers at the school twice. The first time we observed how they guided the group through the protocol and gave them some guidelines. And the second time visit took place at the end of the project when we also recorded this video that you maybe saw, Alex. And we spent time talking with students, evaluating the process and reflecting of the facts. And we also concluded this project by recording a podcast. It's now been for 2 years, I think. Recently, I talked to a teacher, and she told me that she still is doing the same practice with another group, and that this tremoring mechanism and this in Slovenia we called it before reflexo mobility training for our nervous system. It was like training, so we had a different name. And so when Katja and I added up all the hours, we realized that the whole project required about 32 hours of work for the teachers, and half of these hours were spent on practical implementation in the school and also on documenting the process. Yeah, and that was also inspiration for the book. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
I'll add that we actually had 2 Zoom sessions with Dr. David Berceli, where he listened in the middle of the pilot. Well, before the pilot, we all got together to share our fears and to share the concerns, and we received a lot of support to be creative, to work in a different setting, to not try to replicate how we were taught, but to actually answer to the needs of the teachers. And then, yes, we had a few sessions with David Berceli going over, and one particular thing was interesting. Remember how he was so surprised that, or actually not surprised, that the school counselor did not feel as comfortable working with students and managing the group as the PE teacher. And the whole, like in the very beginning, our idea was to allow students to learn from the people that they already trust.
Cool.
And Katja, I think she was going to add something.
Yeah, Katja, I was wondering maybe you could share, like, what were some of the main learnings from this pilot? Like, what were there any surprises? Did it give you any ideas around what should happen next or in the future? What did you learn from this study?
Yeah. First of all, I was, and we were all so happy that this started, that this implementation into this high school was, and that I can see these girls different and how this was so important for their bodies. This was for me the most powerful thing, how to tell more and more young people to know this as soon as possible, like that they can use it for their life, for their bodies. Because if these kids know how to use these tools, then it's so much easier for their bodies. It's so much easier in this life where it's a lot of stress and anxiety. And when I see how this girl said, I sleep better, my focus is better, I feel myself more than before. These are so important things that even when I see my child here, as when he does theory, how easier it is to fall asleep then. And I think this is the thing that for me was like a click. Please, can it be this more and more that we can give, not just to, like, I mean, older people, but to this youth that really needs this in this moment and in this time, that it's a lot of things happening around, that their mind is full of so many informations. They really need to settle down and to relax.
Very cool.
Well, maybe I can add, I was surprised that only 5 to 7 minutes of tremoring has a big effects. I usually had in mind, okay, this has to be, first, second, third exercise, and it has to last 1 hour and a half. And no, I think that all youngest, I work with adolescents, they have really, they have different, how do we say, žučni system.
Nervous system?
A nervous system, more reactive nervous system, and just a little bit of tremoring, a minute, and it's enough. In my school, I also had 9-week-long theory sessions with students, and I had a girl who tremored just, I don't know, for 10 seconds, and it was enough for her. She went to sleep and she slept for half an hour, and that was it. And what surprised me also in this pilot, that maybe theory providers overcomplicate some things. That maybe we are afraid what could happen, what should happen, what mustn't happen. And these PE teachers, they know how to guide through body exercises, and they say first, second, that's it, no complications, and something also moved beyond my prejudice. I thought that PE teachers may actually, that they are very well equipped, and as Vera said, maybe also more than school counselors or school psychologists. And the most important thing, and we can tell this more times, is a safe relationship. I had a question. Okay, we didn't know how to decide. Should we, as a theory providers, go to school and show how it needs to be done, or do we trust those teachers that they could do this on their own? They had before the basics of theory, and we saw that the safe place is the most important. Maybe if I come there to the school first, they have to know me, I have to know their names, blah, blah, blah. So it's the key to this. The first thing is the key. It's great that also parents can guide children, but maybe, sometimes also parents are not safe place. Maybe PE teacher is the safer for them. So that's all that is coming to my mind right now.
I love that emphasis on the relationship, and they may already have a person that they have established safety and trust. For example, the PE teacher or another, and that if those people can be safely trained, as you're suggesting, to actually be the implementer, then that's a very natural. So that insight sounds very, very important compared to the idea of outside TRE providers coming in. So that's a very nice piece. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I have to also say that doesn't mean that the teacher weren't unsure or even frightened at the beginning, because some students also, it happened that they cried. And PE teachers are not used to crying in PE. Usually this is yay. There were these Zoom meetings where we could talk about this, and okay, what's happening now? I'm not used to crying. Should I hold her? Should I go? Should I stop? And there were some topics that teachers needed our guidelines, what to do, and So it's not just
Yes, it's not very, very simple, and this is why I would not recommend anyone just taking the book and going and teaching a big group of kids. I think that the idea was, let's think who can share theory with youth. And youth deals with 3 groups of adults. Adults at home, their direct teachers, and after-school programs. Those are the 3 groups of adults. We believe that bringing theory regularly, bringing neurogenic tremor regularly is really the key. Because to train the nervous system, you don't just need to experience, oh, my legs shake and that's it. We actually need to set a regular practice and explain that this is how both the biological completion happens, how you discharge unnecessary tension, and also how you, through interoception, train the vagus nerve. That's why doing this 5-7 minutes was the concept that we originally had with David Berceli, that is a lot more realistic than simply going and introducing the method and telling them what the benefits are. Unless they feel it, it's not going to stick. So going back to the second group, teachers, PE teachers, sports coaches in after-school programs are probably a really correct avenue to share this method, this different framework. However, if you just teach this and parents know nothing, it's not going to be realistic. That's why if the parent has a book and can understand what the process is, they would be trusting the coaches and the PE teachers a lot more. And in the background, all these years, we were thinking, what is the safe way to educate the teachers and who would do that? So Alex, could you share what you think are the right ways forward, how we're working maybe with TFA, this whole idea of specialized trainers?
Sure.
Do you think that's a realistic way forward?
Yeah, well, so that's actually where I was going to kind of bring our conversation to as well, which is that, having written, the book is out there now, and actually soon there will be these two versions for the older ages and the younger ages, and then we have this very important documented study via the pilot project in Slovenia, and so then the question is, okay, well, what's next? Where are we headed? And something that Vera has been clear about from the beginning, and in conversation with the rest of us here and even beyond this group here, is the idea of how to effectively create educational programs. And so the book is a wonderful starting point. It's definitely something where parents can read it, become familiar, children can read, become familiar, try this on their own. But in terms of having broader programs where PE teachers might start to use this in groups, or teachers might start to use this in groups, what we have recognized is that we need to create an educational program for existing TRE providers or TRE trainers, or even people for who might be youth educators, but they may not be TRE providers yet, but they want to become trained in the methodology that's going to be resonant with these youth applications. And so that's what we're in the process of doing now, is actually completing the first primarily an online-based learning program geared towards parents, which is in some ways a supplement to the book, where they can learn a little bit more about some of the science ideas about the nervous system and the body, and then also through video learn a little bit more directly some of the ways of utilizing this protocol with children. So that's one step, and so that's one step in the educational direction. And then Vera, I think you should talk a little bit about the step beyond that, which is we're in the process of developing a curriculum to train TRE providers or other people to become, I think the word is a dynamic superpower guide or a reflexomobility guide. You'll have to remind me of what we landed on here. But people who truly know this method and know how to teach it to those adults who are in children's lives. So can you share a little bit about your vision around how that will be happening, Vera?
Thank you, Alex. With the respect to the trademark method of TRE, we all know that only certified trainers can train other adults to teach groups. There is another avenue which is called agency-based training, or now it's going to be called specialized training. And the idea is that a current TRE provider can, for example, go and do after-school program and use our method. They don't need that much more education. However, if the existing TRE provider or trainer would like to train teachers or coaches to do it on their own with kids, they need some additional education. And that's why we did lessons learned after the pilot. We are making the curriculum not take 36 hours, but maybe a combination of videos and one-on-one or Zoom sessions, something that would enable teachers and coaches to have the right to teach the kids.
Right.
Without becoming TRE providers or trainers, but having a different type of approach, maybe specialized reflexive mobility guides.
Right. I see. Yeah, and that what you're saying right there, this idea of specialized programming, this has been an idea from Dr. Berceli for a number of years, and it's the idea that TRE has done quite well as a global modality, and for it to continue to go even further, what he has been saying is that we have to be willing to develop specializations, sometimes using new language. And an example is we've been working with firefighters, and they have developed a specialized program unique to the firefighting world. Another example is working with bodywork therapists or manual therapists who might have some special needs and even their own language and understanding. And so this idea of, we have this beautiful modality of TRE that's represented in like 75 countries or something, but then now part of the work is to start to deepen this into specific professional tracks. And so this idea of creating a specialization around teaching children, or actually, in fact, teaching adults who work with children how to do this in a safe way, in a fun way, adjust it so that you're not going for 20 minutes or something, but that you're learning these ideas of how to approach it. So that is, and that's Vera, a role that I have as a trainer is to help shape this approach along this specialization. So that's kind of where we are headed with this, is to create that pathway. I'm just kind of respectful of time, so let's maybe take a moment for kind of closing words. I'd love just to hear maybe one more thought from everybody. And then Vera, also, please include how somebody can find this work. The website, of course, will list all of that in the description and the show notes. It will make it very easy to find the book, to find the website, YouTube videos related to the pilot project, etc. All of that will be clear, but maybe you could just say a few words around how somebody can find out more. So maybe Katja, if we could start with you, maybe just any closing thoughts as we wrap up this conversation.
Yeah, maybe I would mention, maybe just like think that first of all, that it's important to ask first myself if I am willing to work, for example, with kids, and if I am like wish to do this, and how I feel for myself to do some work with children or more with adults. So this is one of the things that is good to ask, like myself. And if I have like also some pedagogical background before, or if I work in some fields like school, kindergarten, youth center before. And then like for the ending, I would just say that it's, I would really love that in some years that like this theory would be something that children learn early, like in schools, at home, in a normal, as a normal life skill, just like some movement or just some everyday activities, so that this would be something that we could give our kids, and that to build this resilience from the early beginning. And this would be my very big wish. Yeah,
I love that.
Thank you.
Here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good. How about you, Špela? What are your closing thoughts from this conversation?
I think I could sign under Katja's sentence, and I hope that this tremoring mechanism will no longer carry on any carry any stigma. Instead, I wish it will become something normal, even maybe something in our school. Sometimes when I start with these sessions, it's in, oh, what are you doing? And not just in for the girls, but also I hope that also boys will be tremoring too. Yeah, that's my
I'm sure
wish.
they will be. I'm confident they will be. That's cool. Good. How about you, Vera? What closing thoughts and would you share?
There is a beautiful poet that when she was 90 years old, she said, here's the recipe for the fulfilled life. And that is, the poem goes like this: pay attention, become astonished, tell about it. So I feel like we as a group became astonished of how much power this method has to train resiliency, to equip younger generation against fears and against real dangers as suicide and disruptive behavior, substance abuse. This will not solve all the world problems, but I'm very positive that it is one of the tools that if we know it, we have the responsibility to share it safely. And I also see that we will be working and offering some workshops for existing TRE providers on how to do after-school classes for kids. Dr. Lisa Glenk from Austria is doing that already. A lot of Špela was doing that as an after-school program. So there is a lot of sharing for existing TRE providers that don't want to educate teachers, but want to bring the work to kids. And it's already happening in Argentina, in Brazil, in so many countries. We're in touch with these people, and we want to continue to inspire each other to learn and offer different ways to bring burnout prevention for teachers, because it will all eventually get into kids.
Wonderful. And where can somebody go to find the book, to learn more about this Reflexomobility Academy?
Yes, we have a website. It's called www.reflexomobility.org because it's Reflexomobility Academy. We have the Instagram page that needs more work. And this is all grassroots, so please be patient with us. You also can contact us for more information through email, and we're welcome for suggestions and improvements.
Wonderful. Well, I guess my closing words would be, just what a inspiration to hear from each of you and how you have found your way to this work with your own children at home, with the children that you work with in schools. I really sort of admire the sort of persistence, that over multiple years now to really truly think through what would be the best approaches and to do this in a way that is sustainable. And so, major credit to all of you for your how you've approached this program. And then the other piece that I just so much appreciate is the international component of things. I mean, to me, how wonderful that we can be learning from programs in Slovenia, in the United States, in Switzerland, as you mentioned. So this idea of sharing the collaborative learning, Hindra in Indonesia. So to me, part of what will make a success here in general is that, we're thinking about how do we bring this to children truly in a global manner. And so that to me is just very inspirational to think about. So very excited just to sort of hear all of this, and excited to be a part of kind of, how we develop this in the next stages. So thanks everybody for taking time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode. We hope you found inspiration and new insights into the power of neurogenic tremoring.
If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It really helps us reach more people interested in this transformative work.
And if you want to dive deeper, connect with us. Or to learn more about our sessions, courses, and upcoming trainings, head over to neurogenicintegration.com.